Yeah, I bought this car. Total emotional purchase. Saw it from the street, had to have it. Had one just like it. It was better. This is a terrible car. Don't get me wrong. 280ZX, great cars. This car, terrible. It's been literally, now it's rolling backwards. It's been sitting mothballed for almost a year because I fell in love with it and then it broke my heart. How many times has that happened? And you guys, thanks for watching the videos and thanks for saying in the comments every once in a while, hey, what about the 280? Send. And I've been thinking about this thing a lot. What I want to do with it, if I want to do with it, and I think I do. So I'm waiting on parts for the garbage Camaro and my blue C10. Anyway, I hadn't got the heart to start on it yet, and I've got a bunch of stuff going on with Paintucation, so I wanted to bring this thing out and just kind of reassess. So take a look at it with me. I'm a body guy, so I'm looking at body panels. These cars are terrible for rust. No, that's just surface rust. Okay, there's no rust here at the bottom of the fenders. The rockers seem to be good. This, no, I'm not going to tear those up. These are actually quite sought after. This is an aftermarket trim that went down the side of the car. All three pieces are on this side, some's missing on the other side. But anyway, this is aftermarket trim as well. This is not a Nissan thing, but a lot of these cars in the late 70s, early 80s had this. Another one of the reasons that these cars rusted is because these frickin' things are riveted into the sheet metal. But digressing, you feel up around the arches, you can't feel what I'm feeling and you can't even see it, but these wheel arches are really good. Again, down here, bottom of the quarter panels, it's good. If you remember, we discovered last time that some bubbling rust, and we either got to replace the hatch or replace some metal. Let's go a little bit farther. On the inside, so in around here, we've got, well, floors that aren't really floors. Yeah, it's really bad. And I'm sure this looks like a Japanese movie where the lips don't match the voice, but it's in bad shape. And the frame rails underneath, if you remember the under car inspection we did, it's bad. Rail, it's just gone. It's gone. It looks like somebody's done some Dukes of Hazzard landings with this frame rail on top of it being kind of mushy. But right up here, it appears to be solid again. There's parts that are good. This is good, right? Outer rockers are good. Inner rockers are good. The pans and the rails are toast. And I don't know why. The bottom of the dash, I've actually got that. This car was complete on the front. And we've got that. That's in my storage building, so that's okay. This part of the dash, oh, it's awful. The latch doesn't work. Struts are wore out. And if camera guy can look straight down there, we have a sheet metal deficit. One of the things that I did note while we were underneath it that is in good shape is the fuel tank. These fuel tanks, nobody makes them. Something to salvage there. The basic floor pan in the hatch area is good. The channels are good. That works. This is a naturally aspirated 2.8 with mechanical fuel injection and more vacuum hoses than 1982 after hours party at a rock club in Tampa, Florida. That's very specific. We made this thing fire. It lit. Let's talk about rust again. Structurally, it looks okay. Straight down there, that's where the battery sits in these cars. And it's kind of crusty underneath there, so we've got some taking aparting to do. The frame rails are toast all the way up to the toe boards. We've got some structural repair to do. It's weird because the outside is good. The center guts, not so good. So I'm kicking myself. I didn't pay much for it, but I'm kicking myself for my emotional purchase, and I need a win. So one of the things, I just saw some more rust. Okay, anyway, never mind. One of the things that I want to do is I've I've never even lifted a finger to improve this car. I'm gonna give it a bath. I'm gonna wash it. These rubber bumpers are so crusty. We're gonna go through this thing and I'm gonna see if I can make myself feel a little bit better about it. All right? All right. Okay. Well, here's a little treasure trove. We've got a messed up rearview mirror glass, but this is a new clutch master cylinder because the one that's in the car has no reservoir on it. It's full of water. This is good. Win. All right, so there's nothing else in there that I feel really good about touching without gloves on, or that I feel really needs to come out of there. Not a moment too soon. The voice in my head is repeating over and over again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because what am I going to get? Rustier floors? All right. That's going to keep the lion's share of the bad water out. Yeah. So, if you haven't figured it out, there's some storms a-brewing. Looks like we're going to get some rain here in a little bit. And what's really fun is that you see clouds moving in different directions. But welcome to the south. All right, in for shelter. All right, let's talk about weapons. We've got a toxic concoction in the water bucket. I'm going to be using a constant for the really stubborn stuff. We use this stuff. That citrus cleaner is bad to the bone. Comet, it's an abrasive powder. 4/0 steel wool for the chrome pieces and the glass. And you can throw rocks at me if you want to, but 4/0 steel wool works great on glass and chrome. And I have various scuffing pads. Credit to David Frieberger, one of his favorite custom paint techniques is the Comet wash, scuffing pad and Comet, and it works really well. It takes the crust off. Come here for a second. I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's mildew, if it's been sitting under a hackberry tree or what it is, but okay, look, I made a clean spot. I want to get it down to something like that. Goal number one, get the crust off of it. Got some wheel cleaner I'm going to use also. It's in the other shop. You know where it's in this shop, and the wheel cleaner I think it's right next to the red toolbox with the side cabinet and the open drawer with 2/3 of an Allen head screw socket set mixed up right beside the box of Clecos. It's down there. Ow. I mean, it feels like concrete. It looks exactly the same. Hey, you know what? I've got an instructional video on show car underhood detailing. It's not this. All right, camera guy, you might be in the splash zone. We're gonna rinse this off. All right, time to bring out the big guns. It's kind of laughed at us up until this point. I'm being careful not to scuff the stainless trim, so don't yell at me. So the pH level of this soap is about 240 grit. Rod Craft will appreciate that joke. I want to know the story of this car, how it got the Appaloosa Pony paint effect. Every car's got a story. Or as Rod Stewart would say, every car's got a story. Around this trim, I'm being careful. I don't know what's happening, but the sludge is changing color. I think it's the cross catalyzation of the semi one-stage base coat, clear coat minus the clear coat combined with the under-catalyzed portion of the silver pigment in the manipulated top surface and 20 years of UV exposure and poor surface prep before all of that. I think it's a combination of that. All right, so this is just a little bit of dish soap and some 4/0 steel wool. I'm gonna get after the glass. How did that happen? Did it lock itself? All right, so it's Christining on me. All right, so that's a lock rod fail. So we let it sit for a couple of days because I wanted it to dry out, and bonus, I didn't have to punch holes in the floor to let the floors dry because I just didn't. But it's all dried out, and I did spend a little bit of time cleaning the windows, and it makes it look better. It's better than I thought. Let's look in the hatch here. Other than the spare tire well, and we know why that, because it collects water there, and that window was gone. I bought a window off of Flea Bay and got a new side glass, so whatever. But all of this in here, this is really, really nice and solid. In around here, this is a bad spot for these cars. It's solid. In here, all of this mess up in here and down here, it's solid. So I'm happy with that. These cross braces are good. This pan is actually not that bad. The toe board, yeah, it's toast. Now the frame rail under it can't say the same because, again, we looked at this on the bottom and it's kind of horrible. But the firewall, the toe board, transmission tunnel, this stuff in here, can't find my glasses, oops, there they are. All of this stuff is okay. Gauges look good. Gauge faces look decent. We might have to paint the needles if I save this thing. I love this configuration here. That looks good. Yeah. this is crusty. We've got options. There's repair available for this. There's a company called Polyvents that makes a dash top repair material, and this has got a mild texture. I know what to do with that, and if we ever get that far, that's going to be a project and it's going to be good. And there's also companies, there's a company called Just Dashes that you can send them your dash, and for, I don't know, between $1,000 and $1,500, they'll send it back to you looking like a factory brand new one. So, you know, fix it yourself, $1,500, you decide, right? But all of this mess up in here, despite the cavernous holes in the floor on this side and the missing frame rails, yeah, it's not as bad as I thought. It's interesting how getting intimate with one and doing a car wash can change your perspective on it. This up in here, oops, this up in here, yeah, that's a bit of rust in here. We'll have to pull the glass. It's just metal, it's just metal. The hood is in really great condition. But look in here, I'm gonna shine a flashlight on it too. This piece down here, now the plastic grill is one thing. It's busted up. You can get those for $100 or so, but this center valance piece, it's a 3-piece valance on this car. This center piece here, I found a aftermarket one, just the centerpiece is $500. Just one piece out of 3 on the front. You can get used ones on the sides, but you know, that's a spendy piece. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Now the mechanical stuff, I don't even want to go there right now. It needs a clutch master cylinder, the brake pedal is harder than Chinese arithmetic, and it needs a booster, and I don't know what it needs for lines and wheel cylinders and all that type of stuff, but it's gonna need some work to put a brake system in it. Bonus, I found a clutch master cylinder, but anyway, it appears that that stuff is available. But here's one thing that is making me nervous, because nobody makes this piece, and you can find used ones, but then you gotta have them shipped. If you remember on the first episode, I've ground down these bubbles here all the way across and up into here. The upper skin is toast. I really want to find out what this metal looks like underneath. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the top, man. I'm going to protect some of this stuff, and I'm going to open this up and find out if I have to buy a hatch or if I can fix this hatch. I'm hoping that I can just burn some new metal in here and it'll be fine. All right, so I'm gonna cut a window and see, just like we did with the garbage Camaro, cut the top off to see if the underside was worth saving. Now, am I going over the top with PPE? Yeah, if you don't know, when I relax on PPE, weird things happen. And camera guys got PPE too, just so you know. All right, so I'm just gonna use this as a guide. My metal looks solid on the outside lip. And I don't want to go any farther than that. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come down, cut me a window that looks like that. All right. So you've probably seen me do this before. What I'm doing is laying a pattern. I'm cutting a groove in the very top of the sheet metal that my blade will go by. If I just jam the blade into the surface, yeah, it'll cut, but it heats up the metal a lot, and it also prematurely wears my expensive blades out. So what this does is it puts a guide in the top of the metal for me that I can just gently roll the spinning death wheel over and over, and it slowly and coolly cuts the metal. So that's why. Well, that's convenient. All right, so what do we got? What is our metal telling us? It's telling us that, hear that sound? That's the sound of solid metal. All right, so I'm gonna get my vacuum, just unhose some of that stuff. Hang on just a sec. Shoot a little light on the subject. That's just dirt. That's just a tiny bit of surface rust. Oh, up in there. That's just moisture from, yeah. That's for the, what is that? That's probably the harness for the rear wiper. That's pretty solid in there, folks. And this right here, yeah, we can do better on that. That's pretty solid. I'm scratching good metal there. All right, rubber plug right there. Okay, so that's still in good shape. I'm no longer worried about this. Just by that alone, I'm just gonna say that I don't have to buy a hatch. We pulled this off here. This side of the metal, there's no reason to believe that it's not as good as that. All right, we've uncovered the iceberg, but I don't feel any crumbs or crust under there. So I'm in good shape right there, man. I'm also gonna cut a window down here. But I'm gonna cut this out down there, see what's up. But I'm happy with this, can you tell? I'm very happy with this right here. Oops. Ha! I got you. All right, so what do we know? We know that this is pitted a little bit, but that the rust is now gone from there. And we know that this is probably typical of the entire way across here, because we do see the bubbles here, rust through, especially here where it's underneath that emblem. But I'm stoked about in here, and I'm stoked about the underside of this top piece. I'm very happy with that. One other thing that I discovered, other than the shocks are really wore out, is that there's a trim piece here. There's the wiper motor. That's going to come off. This trim piece is going to come off. And now I'm going to have access. You can look in there. Yeah, check it out, camera guy. You can look in there and we can see. We can see every dang thing all up inside, right? It gives me access. It gives me a way to treat that stuff up in there. So even though it's pitted a little bit, I've just got to replace the metal on this end, and then I can get up in there and do a super duper, like a internal frame coating or a wax coating or something like that, and save this piece. So, because I'm feeling froggy, and I'm happy with the fact that, where did it go? The fact that I've actually got something to work with here. The win for me today is I'm gonna put my window back in here. If I can find my piece, because that's gonna be my template. There it is. Quit looking, I found it. So I'm going to make a patch that looks like this out of my friendly neighborhood 20 gauge. I'm going to prep this outside area, and I'm going to do a little welding project so I can do the W. There's one, here's the middle dub, and then the U. Double U. Win. Okay, all right. Hang on. One, the human plasma table. I don't even know what that means. All right, let's get that done. First, we're going to trim the pieces out, but if you look at the cold rolled 20 gauge sheet that I've got, you can clearly see that there's some rust that's formed on it. This is just because it sat there for a year out in the elements, and I didn't put any rust protectant or conversion coating on it. So what I'm going to do is just use a flap wheel, and I'll buzz down my patches and scale any of the surface rust off. We're not building a rat rod, and I want to do this right. I'll treat the rest of the metal when I've got time, so I don't have to go through that again. All right, we're going to do a little test fit. Fits everywhere else except down here, so I'm going to trim about that much off. All right, so Mr. Magnet's going to hold us in up there. And we're in good shape. We've got a nice flush fit everywhere, and I've got something to back up my garbage cut right there. And I've got the hot metal glue gun to compensate for the fact that I can't cut metal very accurately. Anyway, so we're actually in pretty good shape here. I'm going to do this in stages. I'm going to do this top piece, then I'm going to do this back piece, and build it as I go. And I've got this window cut out. I've already got my patch cut, but since this is a little bend right here, I want to make sure and retain this contour. Anyway, so first thing first, we are going to, I'm going to dry this out in here, and I'm going to do a little bit of rust preventative maintenance first. All right. Just going to rough up the surface rust. I see a little bit of moisture in there. Gee, I wonder how that got here. Oh, maybe 1500 PSI with a power washer. Maybe that was what happened there, but what I'm doing is just scaling whatever surface rust is left over, getting the dry stuff off the top. This is 80 grit. Rough that stuff off, and I'm going to clean up these edges underneath here. Make sure I've got my paint cleaned off here. I'm not even going to worry about this piece. That's going away anyways. But I want to keep this little jog right there. It goes, when I cut that out, I'm going to use that to map my bend in my patch. So that's my diabolical plan. Got to get some air in there. Can you see what I'm talking about? Yeah, you're looking way down in there. You see that moisture? Yeah. Yeah, there it is. Moisture. I'm going to get rid of that. Oh, it's an air fitting, for God's sake. Don't need very much. These cheapo chip brushes are awesome for this. We must decrease our rust. I don't know. Still. Now this stuff says you need to put 2 coats on and wait till it dries to a black film.
That's what she said?
Before you put the second coat on. So me force flashing it, I don't know if it's legal. Maybe somebody from this company can call me and give me heck for doing it wrong, but to me, with a water-based solution like this, it seems like it'd be okay to do. But it also reminds you and me that I've got a disclaimer at the beginning of each of these episodes that says I might be an idiot. Anyway, I'm going to continue to do this. So now, there's my top side for that patch. So for the bottom side, I've got that spark wrap into here. Cleaned off the metal, so I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that that's pretty good masking tape. We're going to put our weld-through primer on that stuff. You know what else I'm going to do, huh? Oh look, it's dry to touch. Ready to weld. Magic. Okay. So we're going to go super slow with these tacks. And I'm going to do my level best not to warp anything. All right, here we go. Got to suit up. PP&E. What is that? This is a perfectly straight cut. What is that? I'm not going to recut this patch, but look at that. Why did I do that? I don't even know. It surprised me sometimes. I'm rolling with that. We're going to burn it. All right, so this is why I recommend always setting up a little test piece before you burn in your project. And look a little closer here. Camera guy can get some close-ups of those beautiful welds. It looks like the moon. It looks like shrapnel damage. And the reason is because there is no shielding gas coming out of the welder. You can even hear it. It sounds like angry bacon instead of just a sizzle. Look at those 3 welds right there. You know, part of me wants to keep going and just grind it down, but I can't. I have looked high and low. I've looked in the settings. I opened up the manual. I've got plenty of shielding gas in the tank. It triggers, but it's leaking somewhere. It's not getting into the wand. So what does that mean? That means I got to send my machine in because I don't know how to fix it. And it also means that this project's going to have to wait because this is the only welder I've got in this shop. So we're down for the count. I'll let you know how this turns out, how we fix this. So while I was pouting and whining in my head, I figured I might as well do something positive and productive while I'm feeling sorry for myself and my broken welder. So I decided to take the upholstery panel off of the back of the hatch. I needed to see how much access I had in there anyways, and as it turns out, there's a lot. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but there is 0 aftermarket parts available for this thing, so I wanted to save all the fasteners and, of course, the upholstery piece as well. And that's when I came up with a plan to just throw the hatch in the back of the truck and drive it over to the other shop where we do most of the YouTube stuff and use the Eastwood welder, because I know there's gas and I know it probably works right now. So we did, and I started the process of welding. All told, I had about 2.5, maybe 3 hours in doing all the welding, taking my time between tacks, trying really hard to control the heat because I didn't want to push a bunch of heat into this flimsy sheet metal. I also did the metal treatment behind everything. And when I had one piece tacked in, I would go ahead and cut another patch out and work my way across the panel from one piece to the next piece while still maintaining support. And I took my time grinding the welds down with a flap wheel, and across the back it looked good, but I still managed to warp it a little bit on the top side. But here's the saving grace with that. With all the access from the back side, I'm able to get in there with pry bars and PDR tools, and I can push that up, as well as correct any other warpage that I've got from the welding process. I didn't want to strip the deck lid completely, but I did want to kind of hack in to see what kind of paint layers I had, as well as feather out any burnt edges or flaking paint on my repair area. This gave me a pretty good look at the fact that this thing's had a couple of birthdays. You can see the rings of the tree, and it's had at least 2 paint jobs and a crappy primer job over top of that. For my final bit of surface prep, I took my Pickle X20 metal phosphatizer and worked it into the surface with a scuffing pad. I'm not ready for filler on this panel for a couple of different reasons, so I wanted to make sure I protected the metal against moisture. There. Okay, so there we see the rust repair done. Got the metal in, some of the welds, they're not pretty, but hey, that metal is replaced. I feel really good about that. So the next step is I'm actually going to use a fiberglass filler because we've got some porosity here, and then I'll use conventional filler, and then I'll get it into prime. There's no other rust repair to do on here. I'm not going to do the filler work right now, and here's why. This trim piece right here is still in great shape. I'm not going to put body filler right up into that edge. That's why I protected it with spark paper and all that stuff. This has got to come out. This has to be cut out. It's petrified. It's literally rock solid. And we're going to take that apart, and I'm going to strip the whole gate and get it into primer, do the body filler work. I'm going to use a coat of epoxy, then body filler, then conventional 2K primer, and that's going to finish the body work on this thing. I'm really grateful that I don't have to buy a hatch. I'm not opposed to buying a hatch. They're $400-ish, depending on where you get them. But you got to pay for shipping, or I got to go and get it. So anyway. Not doing that yet, but I've got it in my Picklex, right? So it's good to go. Here's something else. This is my little trim piece that's underneath there, right? And some of the push-ins They completely disintegrated. They just let go, man. They're still in the car. And the upholstery is crap. It's garbage. When you're dealing with a car like this, with no aftermarket support, we toss nothing away. We throw away nothing. Here's why. I'm going to have to remake this piece some way, some form, some fashion, whether it's ABS plastic or whether it's just I get out my woodworking tools. It doesn't matter. But what I'm going to do is take this metal brace right here, goes all the way from this side to that side. We've got a metal brace right here that's riveted in that goes around the striker. And I've got a map here and all the original fasteners, these little push clips, to remake this thing. Can I stretch some vinyl around the finished piece just like they did? Sure I can. How do I cut it to fit? Here's my template. So in a world where there's no aftermarket support, then you got to pull out your DIY, right? I've got some friends that do upholstery. Mike Regula does upholstery, and I might lean on him a little bit, but this type of stuff, this is doable. We can remake this. And if we get that far, I'll show you how. So, rust repair on this car, minimal. Done on the back end. Come and look at this on the front end. So the only other rust repair on the body of this car is going to be this windshield channel right here. You can see how crusty it is, how porous it is, and I have no idea how far down into the channel that's going to go. But my gut tells me that I don't have to replace this whole channel. I don't know why. That's just some hand-formed sheet metal. We're going to do the same way we did the back, and that gets us into the bodywork of this car. And I'm going to leave it in primer. The way we're going to finish this car is we're going to get it mechanically sound first, and then we're going to deal with the bodywork. When you look at it from the distance, we've got a solid car. I might need a mirror. Probably going to need a mirror. But in JDM fashion, we can bodywork that, and we can put the cool mirror right there. That's that whole thing, and that's just really cool looking. So there's lots of ways we can go, lots of things that we can take advantage of, and lots of potential on this car. And what gives me encouragement on this car is the fact that the body is in great shape. Floors, bad shape. But I'm kind of formulating a plan.
I've got a plan.
So give me a second. I got to get some, I've been doing some research, got some paperwork. I want to talk about the plan. This chair rolls really well. So my notes say, Kevin's Turd 280. So I got to find a name. You guys got to help me find a name for this project if we're actually going to do it. But it's the 280ZX. It's the S130 platform. I kind of made a list of stuff that it needs. This is surprising to me. The front valance is a 3-piece valance. That's the pieces underneath the bumper. There's left, right, and center. I can find left and right pieces for about 60 bucks a piece on eBay. The middle piece, 500 bucks. You can't find them used, and the new reproductions are 500 bucks. Holy smokes. The plastic grill, yeah, I found a couple of them reproductions for 90 bucks. Hatch, $400. No, cross that off the list. We solved that. We don't need a hatch. I did find a weather seal for about 100 bucks. Taillights. Holy smokes. Look at these taillights. Yeah, come over here. So these are the ones that are actually on the turbo cars. This says 1980 right there, so this could be the right tail light for this car. Look how cracked up they are. They're terrible. They're not broken, but they're deteriorated. You know how much these cost? 400 bucks for a pair of decent ones. I found some clear lenses. So I kind of like clear lenses because you could put a red diffuser in the back. You get a clear lens look. I guess that's fine. I guess what I need to do is find some buddies with CNC machines. Greening Auto Company does that. Maybe we can 3D print clear lenses, or the red, I don't know. 400 bucks, holy smokes. Yeah. Floors. Can we get floors for this thing? I found a company called Motor Z that has a complete floor pan and support kit. It's the flat pans, and there's frame rail supports that are toast. and that gets me up to the toe board. It's just a flat pan up to the toe board. And then I've got to replace toe boards, and then I've got to replace the upturn on the frame rails all the way up to almost to the shock tower, because it's in pretty bad shape there. Yeah. So the complete floor pan and support kit that doesn't solve the problem is $800. Okay, you know, yeah. I turned my search on to a place where cars don't rust. I went to my marketplace search in Arizona because cars don't typically rust out there. And we got a better chance of getting a rust-free donor car, if that's what we're going to do, from Arizona. And I found a complete floor section from the back hatch to halfway up the firewall for $1,800, rust-free. Maybe that's it. I also found complete parts cars for $1,500 to $3,000 for good cars. I paid, just so you know, I paid $800 for this car. And at that point, I don't know. Yeah, I found a windshield is still available for this car for $200. That's pretty reasonable. And weather seals, surprisingly, are available for this car. Radiator, because we need a radiator. So a windshield's $200. Gasket is available. Radiator, $150. I threw in another $2,000 for miscellaneous stuff, like a brake master cylinder, maybe a vacuum booster, stuff, to get this thing back to where it's a 280ZX again with the factory drivetrain and new floors. I've estimated, it's probably a really gross underestimation, it's $5,700. So let's just call it $6,000. You know what else I found in Arizona? I found complete running driving cars for $3,000 to $7,000. And then I have a car, and I could just drive it. But I don't know. Then there's no thrill of the chase. There's no process. There's no build. And then, at the end of the day, if I spend $7,000 on what I've got, and then I've grossly underestimated, and then we've got all the materials, a couple grand for paint body materials, I'm going to be $10,000, $12,000 into this car to restore it, which is pretty cheap. But you know what it's worth? It might be worth $15,000. Okay, that's fine. So if I'm going to flip this car, am I upside down in it? I don't know. I could probably do it for about the value of the car. So what are my options? My options are, I can sell it for parts. It's a running engine. I've seen the engines alone for $800 to $1,000. There's a lot of really good parts on this car. There's a lot of really terrible parts on this car, but it's a good solid body with good glass. So I could sell it for parts. I could get an Arizona parts car and graft all those things onto this one, but that's $3,000, and I gotta go to Arizona to get it. I don't want to. A restoration gets me upside down. Now, this is Paintucation. We're gonna do a paint job, right? I'm a big fan of resto-mod. What is resto-mod? It's restoring a vehicle and modifying it. Now, I don't wanna go full-on drift car with this thing. Disclaimer, we're not doing that. We're not gonna have roller skate wheels sticking out the sides and probably not a wide body kit. But there have been a bunch of people doing V8 conversions on these cars for a long time. For instance, here's a few that I found with a simple Google search. Stealth Conversions, Motorsport Auto, John's Cars, JTR, Dirty Dingo, Sicky Motors, never mind all the universal kits. Apex Engineering has complete suspension swaps. There's lots of that type of support for doing a V8 swap in a 280, 280ZX, S30, S130 platform. So guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna do a V8 conversion. What form of V8 are we gonna use? I don't know yet. It's a manual transmission. My partner is wanting to have a vehicle that is easier to drive, and I might want to think about an automatic transmission, but I love a manual transmission. So guess what? I've been talking to guys that are doing tuner cars and into that part of the world, and there's just been a new Stellantis transmission that is a DCT, dual clutch transmission, and so that's really interesting to me. There's lots of different things that we can do with this car. Here's my plan. Here's the whole beans. We're spilling the beans. V8 conversion, dual clutch transmission, which gives us the opportunity to drive it in stop and go traffic in the automatic mode. We can do manual shift mode. I can paddle shift. DCT is cool. You get one out of a BMW M3, and they're good to about 600 horsepower. Now, we're not going to do that, but if we have a V8, we're going to have probably around 300 horse. So V8, dual clutch, we'll beef up the rear axle. The Apex Motorsports guys, we can keep the 4-lug axles, get some beefed up half shafts, just like I did with Rocket Miata, billet hubs, 8.8 rear end. So we have a flushed out drivetrain. So there it is. We have a great looking car, excellent silhouette, lovely lines.
You won't do 0 to 50 in 6 seconds flat, but you know you could. You won't wind it to its track speed of over 100 miles an hour, but you know you could.
The chance of restoring it is just about non-existent for a low-buck DIY thing. But we can modify it and make it into a really neat car for about the same as we could get into it as a complete stock refurb. That's my research. So, do I still love this car? There's a piece of my hardening heart that's about this big that does absolutely love this car. And the other third of my crusty hardening heart with pieces coming off of it is excited about the build. And I don't know. I want to let a cat out of a bag here, but I got to think about it for a second. So we are going to let the cat out of the bag. If you've watched me on the old Trucks TV shows on Spike Network, you know that my co-host was Ryan Shand. Ryan and I have stayed friends all of this time, and we are in contact with each other. And he's a BMW guy. He's got a BMW service shop and builds cars still and is an enthusiast still. And we've had a bunch of great conversations because that DCT transmission out of the M3, yeah, it's his world. And he's an ace mechanic, and he's a great fabricator. And if we're going to put something cool together, I don't know. I'm just saying we've been bench racing it. And there's a lot of high-five conversations that we're having about this car because he loves the idea. I love the nucleus of the idea as well. You can't hold me to it 100%. But what it looks like is going to happen is that me and Ryan are going to collab on this car and build it, get it running, driving, and I'm so excited about that. Don't hold my feet to the fire because there's a lot of things that have to happen in a particular order to get us to the point to where we're chopping this thing up and doing those things to it. But that's what's in motion. So I'll keep you included in the conversation, and when we start taking steps on really doing this thing, and it's going to be great. It's going to be epic. So, yeah, Ryan, if you're out there listening, I just spilled the tea. So anyway, there's the plan. I'm stoked about it. Part of me is really tired at the thought of starting another project. But what's going to be really good about this one is that we're going to get drivetrain, we're going to get it done, and we're going to get it running and driving, and it's going to be one of those things. And you know, Garbage Camaro is still going to go along in the background, and we'll pull you in on that stuff and show you what we're doing while we're doing it, and yeah, bring you along for the ride there. And same with the horrible C10 truck. I've got to do something with that because it's just taking up floor space right now, and I got my 66 C10. We got lots of meat and potatoes for projects, and I plan on going to visit some buddies. Lots of stuff coming up. I want to thank you guys for participating in this channel, not for just watching. If you're just going to watch, that's great too, but you guys comment. You tell me what you want. You disagree with me sometimes, and that's okay too. I love the back and forth. So thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and thank you for participating in the Black Friday sale. We appreciate every one of you. We've got more and more merchandise coming up, more and more tools and different things that are going to be part of what we're just trying to grow here, which is a really good-hearted enthusiast community of people that want to help each other and want to DIY. That's been my mantra for many, many years, so thank you for being a part of that. See you next Saturday.